Holy hell, guys, this whole Andrade situation is just getting crazier. So I was just in the middle of recording my hot takes video, which will be out soon, don't worry, I have not forgotten about it. And while I was recording, I saw a new report about Andrade's status. Now, I have been seeing all kinds of reports for the past 2 weeks, or really more, like for the past 3 weeks or so, maybe 4 weeks, I don't even know. So basically, when Andrade was first let go from the WWE, it was reported that it was because of wellness violations. And me personally, even though I did like Andrade, at this point, I did not care, It's like, alright bro, this dude really hasn't done anything in WWE or AEW. Sure, it's not totally his fault, but man, I was just tired of, hearing about his potential, and oh, if only he was paired with Zelina, oh, if only he was on Raw, if only this, if only that. I was tired, So while I was sad that the dude lost his job, as a fan, I didn't really care, And also, wellness violations, we've had like 1 billion of those in WWE, so it's best not to assume anything about it, because it can really span from anything to anything, really. It can be a big issue, or it can be a pretty small issue, like even refusing to take a test is a wellness violation, and Andrade apparently had multiple violations in the past year or so. So WWE let him go? Okay, fine. Nothing about it seems crazy. We've seen stuff like this happen in wrestling 1 billion times. Although there's also reports that it was, not anything drug related, alcohol related, or marriage related. And there's a very undisclosed reason for his release. I'm just going to stick to what is most commonly reported because, like I said, there's been all kinds of reports. But then anyways, Andrade shows up in AEW like the very next week or something. He's on TV again. He's a part of AEW programming, and everybody's shocked because we've all thought, that he had a 90-day no-compete clause. But according to the reports we saw right after his AEW return, he didn't have a 90-day no-compete clause because he was cut from the WWE outright. He had numerous wellness violations over the last year, so they made the decision to cut him outright. And because of that, he didn't have a no-compete clause and he was free to work anywhere he wanted. But then, this dude gets taken off TV the very next week in AEW, and it's like we were just supposed to forget about it, just forget it ever happened. And that's when we got the report that he did in fact have a no-compete clause, and Andrade breached it by showing up in AEW. And guess what? He wasn't even going to be paid during those 90 days. And yeah, in case some of y'all don't know exactly how a 90-day no-compete clause works, they are paid to not work elsewhere because they're still technically under contract. The wrestlers are basically being informed like, hey, in 90 days, your contracts will be terminated. They're being given a 90-day notice. So in those 90 days, because you're still under a contract, you get paid and you don't work anywhere else. And Andrade was not paid or is not paid. And I'm guessing because he's not paid and because he was cut from the company because of wellness violations and because he was cut outright, he assumed that there was no non-compete clause and AEW believed him. Now obviously, Andrade is an idiot, right? Andrade is an idiot, okay? Because look, I'm not saying I'm an expert, There's definitely so much about this. There's definitely so much going on that I don't fully understand. But you cannot tell me that Andrade couldn't have handled the situation better, especially with a company like WWE. Because sure, I'm not saying WWE is the most moral company in the world, but come on, man. Because you've been in the business for decades. You should understand that contracts, clauses, all these corporate and legal stuff are super important, and you always got to be very careful with that. I feel like that's the bare minimum you can do as an employee. So I feel like to just assume that you don't have a no-compete, it's kind of crazy, And like I said, I'm no expert. I'm not an independent contractor. I'm not a professional wrestler. But I don't know, man. I feel like you got to be ahead of all this legal stuff like a responsible employed adult. Especially since I'm assuming that Andrade has an agent like, most wrestlers do, that, go over contracts and stuff like that. Like, damn, bro, how did this no-complete clause just go under the radar like that? It's just crazy. But then, things get even crazier. So apparently, because he violated this clause, he's now going to be facing a 1-year non-compete clause. Like, what? Let me read you the report word for word. We have it confirmed through multiple sources that the new TKO contracts have a clause where if you are fired for cause or breach, there is a 1-year non-compete. The older contracts had this, but it's a standard now. This is the holdup involving Andrade. Now look, here's how I look at it. Is Andrade an idiot? Sure, he's stupid. And maybe he wouldn't be fired and wouldn't have to go through all of this if he simply wasn't an idiot. But there's a massive, gigantic, enormous Batista's penis-sized line between don't be an idiot and you can't work in your industry for an entire year. We can all agree that Andrade did something wrong. Like, yeah, and he should be punished, I guess, if he breached his contract. We can all agree on that, while also acknowledging that there are limits to fair punishment. A year is just crazy, man. Like, come on. Sasha Banks and Naomi walked out of the company during a show. An episode of Monday Night Raw was literally going on, and they were scheduled to be in a match later that night, and they walked out. They didn't have to like not work for a year. Naomi went to TNA, Mercedes went to Japan a few months later. Like, bro, a whole year is just crazy, man. Like, what is this dude gonna do? He's just gonna have to end up flipping burgers at McDonald's or something. Carmelo Hayes predicted this guy's future, by the way. That's crazy.
Just put the fries in the bag, bro. You washed.
But anyways, yeah, man, jokes aside, like I said, this dude is an idiot, sure, I don't know why he didn't, make sure that he doesn't have a non-compete clause before rushing over to AEW. Like, bro, we get it. You love wrestling, but damn, make sure you're ahead of things legally. Like, damn, bro, why so impulsive? And guess what? Even though WWE is an evil company, just like, most billion-dollar companies, you low-key gotta look at their POV. I mean, I'm not defending WWE by any means, but their POV is this, Let's say someone's unhappy in WWE and they want to go to AEW. They can just do something like this, some wellness or disciplinary violation, and they can just easily get to AEW the very next day by getting fired. Basically, they cannot encourage talent who are unhappy in the moment to commit misconduct or anything like that, so they can just get fired and show up on the, Rivals TV show the very next day. But at the same time, it's weird because he's proclaimed an independent contractor by WWE right after he was cut, but he's not allowed to independently work? Like, you see what I mean? It's so weird, man. This whole situation is, it's such a mess. Has there ever been a situation like this? Because I kind of remember reading about Brock Lesnar's situation with WWE when he went to New Japan and stuff like that, and things went to court where, Brock Lesnar ended up winning, by the way. And I'm not sure, but I think Alberto Del Rio was also in a situation, something like that. I don't know, man. I don't even know. I can't really defend any one side here. I feel like both sides are kind of crazy. But man, you gotta agree that keeping this dude from working for a whole year is just abysmal. And I have a feeling that if and when AEW and Andrade take this to court, WWE is going to lose, just like they lost to, Brock Lesnar's situation. You cannot keep somebody from working for a whole year unpaid. That's just crazy. WWE is just going to make themselves look stupid in court. But, I mean, you never know, because maybe all of this was in the contract that Andrade signed. So even after all that, WWE can just pull the simple, well, that's what you agreed to. So yeah, man, I mean, this is just an absolutely messed up situation. Although I think Andrade could have handled this better, I do feel bad for the guy because damn, bro, he doesn't deserve to be kept away from his profession for a whole year. I hope this situation gets resolved and Andrade will be able to get back in the ring as soon as possible. Anyways, that is it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out.